Hello and welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. My name is Justin, aka Soft Pillows, and this is
This is Derek, or Bird That Steals.
how you been, dude?
How's it going, man?
Said the same thing at the same time. You owe me a Coke. Just kidding.
Oh,
Mm.
damn it. That's
Oh,
gonna be a
that's
warm
okay.
one.
Just yeah. Isn't warm Coke like super bad or something like that? Not that it's great either way, but thought I heard something about like hot Coke being not safe to consume.
I don't know. The only weird thing I know about Coke is that like Southern people put peanuts in it sometimes or something.
They put peanuts in it?
Maybe that's beer. I don't remember. It was something that I thought was weird that, you know, normal people like us from the North
I
don't
mean, I
do.
put olives in my beer.
You're scratching your head right now, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I put olives in my beer. Would they find that weird?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. For some reason, I thought it was Coke. I'm gonna Google it quick. Yes, it is. Maybe it's not even a Southern thing. I don't know, but
Huh.
it is a thing.
That's interesting. I never would have put the two together.
Something about the sweet from the pop and the salty from the peanuts. I don't know.
I might have to try that just because I'm curious.
You're gonna try it now, aren't you?
When I get around to drinking Coke, which is rare, rarely ever.
I don't know that I'll try it. It just doesn't sound that appetizing to me.
I mean, Coke's full of sugar, so I mean it can't be that much different than you know, like candy with nuts in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's one of those things. Maybe we shouldn't knock it till we try it, but
I
I
think we
don't
should
know.
do that for our last episode. Both drink some Coke with some peanuts in it.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the episode. I didn't even have that on my mind to talk about before we started recording. It just I don't even know why it came. Oh yeah, it was because you were like you owe me a Coke, and then that just popped into my head. So a random
Yeah, I
tangent for the
mean, I
day.
guess that's how it works, right?
Yeah. How was unpacking process gone? Still chipping
Yeah,
away.
it's slowly chipping away. I mean, there's a fair amount of stuff, but yeah, we're slowly making, hanging things back up, finding spots for stuff, hooking in things, plugging in stuff. Yeah, it's a little tedious because, we're both working. Just taking a little time.
Yeah, it takes time. You'll get there
Yeah,
though.
I'm not worried about it. What about you? What's been up? I see you've been doing some book swapping on Twitter.
A little bit, yeah. This just happened to work out good. So
So do you have to like return the books or
nope,
just straight up trading books?
nope. It was yep,
So what'd you send them?
the same book, just like a different print.
Oh, okay, I see. So one of those things where like if I wanted the old school Daryl K. Sweet art cover Wheel of Time books, but all I have are the fucking gross monotone ones. But someone had those Daryl K. Sweet ones, but wanted the monotone ones. You essentially just swap them out.
Yep,
That's kind of
exactly.
cool. No, kind of. That is cool.
Yeah, yeah. Wasn't something I went out searching for. Just it happened to work out that way. Somebody else saw it and had an opportunity, and that's what it
Fuck
was.
yeah, hell yeah. What state were they in?
New Jersey.
That's pretty cool. I had a brief stint where I was selling books on eBay and I would sell them all.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, around the world or just like United States.
Yeah, I didn't sell anything outside of the States. All the people that I bought was within the United States. I kind of felt a little guilty about it, but at the end of the day, like capitalism, right? So my secret is that Barnes and Noble still sold the Daryl K. Sweet paperback version of Towers of Midnight. So every paycheck I would buy like two or three of them for like $10. And then on eBay I'd sell it for 30.
Hey,
But Yeah,
It
that
works.
lasted for like maybe 6 months, and then I'm probably the reason why Barnes and Noble doesn't have any copies of them anymore. I probably sold maybe about, I don't know, 15 to 20 of those books.
Holy
Yeah,
cow!
yeah. And along with Memory of Light, I ended up having 3 copies of those in paperback, and I sold the other 2 for $50 each.
Wow, that's a pretty nice profit margin
Yeah,
there.
they're my partner makes fun of me all the time for it, but those covers are worth something. I mean, they're not in print anymore, so I want to keep them looking as good as long as possible.
Yeah, I definitely like. Yeah, some of that artwork it almost looks kind of cheesy, but I like it.
It fits though for some reason. It just like
Just something about it. I don't
yeah,
know. Just just kind of able to kind of make up your own story in your head as far as what's going on.
right, right. Speaking of stories, should we get into episode 23 of chapter 22 of Gardens of the Moon here?
Sure.
This one was good. I felt like last chapter was kind of the rise in tension, kind of like how all stories have like a rise in tension and then eventually a fall. I was really expecting like this chapter to be that fall, but um and you'll see as we go through this chapter, but I definitely feel like this was kind of the peak, so to speak. But I thought that last time, so maybe I might be wrong. I guess it all depends on the chapter we read next.
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to expect next in the next chapter, but I guess we'll find out here shortly.
I feel like there's a lot of unexpected things in this chapter.
Yeah, I think so. I totally agree.
Cool. Well, want to start her off? Start us off?
Do you want to take the epigraph? I'll be starting off with a pretty long section, so if you want to take the epigraph, maybe it kind of breaks it up a little bit.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me just go back to the beginning of this chapter here. It's all good. All right. Ravens, great ravens, your damning calls deride, history sweeping beneath your blackened wings. Shatter the day, O flags of night, rend with shadows this innocent light. Ravens, great ravens, your drumming clouds arrive, swooped sudden sheer, hissing travails from no place to the other. Shatter the day, O flags of night, rend with shadows this innocent light. Ravens, great ravens, your beaks clatter open, disgorging the sweat of straining dismay. The clack of bones promise to stay. I've seen the sheen of your eyes, the laughter that rhymes the living. You're passing but an illusion. We stop, we stare, we curse your cold wings. In knowing your flight's path, wheeling you round us, again, oh, forever again.
It was a pretty long one.
It was a long one.
I think probably the
I was
longest one we've
I was
had.
just gonna say that. Took the words right out of me.
Sorry, I didn't
Oh,
mean
it's
to.
it's okay. It's just now I owe you a Coke.
Perfect. No peanuts, please.
Sounds good, man.
All right, well, I will start us off here for this chapter. Raced fought off 2 of the black dragons. The other 2 circled overhead, and Solana Redwings fled over the hill. She was hurt badly, and Race knew it, her power bleeding out from the wounds sustained in battle. Race, ravaged as he was, muttered, "And now she will die." All that kept him going was the power of his own warren. He was close to his finish. Once it was back in his hands, it would rejuvenate his body. The city lay beyond one more hill. The battle that had taken the place was devastating. Everything was burned, incinerated. He had thrown dirt and clouds into the sky to blind the dragons, then set the air and their path on fire. All this had pleased him. He felt like he was living again. Though even as he walked, the havoc continued. He snapped his head and felled a bridge spanning a river, a guardhouse that he obliterated only because he could, and he didn't need the distraction as he continued to fight with dragons. A man rode a horse out of the city, and he destroyed both because they simply annoyed him. As he crested the hill, Solana disappeared. As he crested the hill, Solana disappeared over. He gathered his power, anticipating an attack, but nothing happened. The two circled overhead, and there was also a great raven. He looked across the valley and saw her waiting, bleeding, dying. He saw the city behind, and it was much, much larger than even the great Jaghut cities of old. He called out to the red dragon, Solana, Eliant, I give you your life. Flee now. I show mercy only once. She did not move and did not reply. As Race approached, he found her worn gone. Surrender then. Suddenly the city disappeared. He recognized this as an elder vision, a vision before Jaghut existed. He wondered who brought him here. It was Krupp. It's always fucking Krupp. He tells Race he looks like shit and the years have not been kind to him. Race is like, who the fuck are you? Are you here to submit to me and be my first acolyte? Krupp says he's got it wrong. He bows to no man, Jaghut or God. That's how it goes these days. As mighty as you are, here you are insignificant in my dream. Ray says he's played this game before and unleashes some magic at Krupp. Krupp simply replies, rude. Race doesn't understand and he hears a noise behind him. He turns around in time to take a sword through the shoulder and it literally rips him to pieces. As he looked up, he saw Talan Imus. Says he's clanless, unbound and beyond binding, but the ancient call commands him still. Onos Tulin, sword of the First Empire. Onos says Krupp has strange dreams. Krupp says he's full of surprises and sometimes even surprises himself. Onos says he senses a bonecaster had part in this. Krupp says yes, and he thinks his name was Pran Cole of Kig Avon's clan. Ray says an IMS is not able to withstand him. Krupp replies that he should take a look in the mirror. He's all sorts of fucked up, but the IMS isn't alone in this. A figure appears. Ray says it reminds him of Hood, but he senses nothing of him. Ray says in this age there is no one who can stop him. The figure calls him a fool and says in this age a mortal can defeat him. It's the gods who are slaves now. Race is surprised at this. The figure introduces themselves as Krull or Cruel. I don't know which way, but I like you. I think you brought up Cruel before, and I like that. The maker of paths. Do you recognize this title? Ray says this is impossible. He passed into the realms of chaos, no longer among the gods. Cruel tells Race he has no choice and that things have changed. Onos is without equal and can destroy him, or he can join Cruel. Since they are one and the same, their times have passed and the gates of chaos await them both. Is he with or against? Race makes a third choice. Cruel says he's found another body. Krupp simply stammers, oh my.
This was one of the ones that I was not expecting this. I was not expecting for Reyes to be pulled into Krupp's dream.
No.
Unexpected thing one.
I, yeah. And I know in our show notes here, I could not remember. I thought it was Baruch that sent the rider out that Race just fucking obliterated, but you corrected me and it was Turban Orr. So, uh, yeah, kind of a dick move on his part.
Right. And when I was thinking, I mean, I thought probably way too hard about that rider because it was such a short thing. And I feel like most readers would have missed it, being that information is kind of played out over two chapters here. But if you think about it, Turban Orr sent this rider and they were to deliver papers to the Malazans in Pale of Jerujistan's neutrality. So my question is was it luck that made Reyes kill the poor man? Or was it just simply him just being annoyed? Or was you know what I mean? Like I know that like Reyes probably is not influenced by any type of god, but or is he? Like I'm kind of playing off of that type of vibe.
As far as like the luck thing, I feel like it was probably just that writer's own bad luck. Just wrong spot,
It
wrong
depends on
time.
how you look at it. True. Good for Darujistan, not
Yeah,
good for this rider or his horse.
yeah. I kind of feel worse for the horse than
Right,
anything.
but good for Reyes because he got some anger out. He was annoyed. He dealt with it.
True. Um, like reading all this stuff, I kind of feel like Raced is like Thanos. Like that's almost what I envision in my head as far as like a picture of him is like Thanos. I don't know what you kind of envision, but that was just what came to me.
Um,
Just a nastier version.
right. I guess I always go to like anytime I envision something, I always go to like cartoons that I watched in my past, and I can't remember for the life of me what any of it is called. But it just reminds me of like some type of like enemy that you would find in Mighty Max or one of those older like 90s cartoons. Just this big like hulking mass of muscle, almost like almost like the Juggernaut but with like tusks, and no stupid like penis domed hat. Just this like fucked up disfigured face with tusks coming out of it but like built like the Juggernaut from X-Men. I guess that's just kind of where my mind is going with it. uh
Yeah, that's just what I was reading. He's you know kind of like this all powerful thing, and obviously he's Raced is he's not snapping fingers, he's snapping necks. But
that's a yeah, that's a good way to put it.
so
But
yeah,
um I guess Elder Vision. I feel like this is the first time Elder Vision has come up. Like I just always thought that Krupp's dreams were dreams, as at least that's what it appeared to be on the surface. But I think it's kind of cool that, the author is coming back and actually like giving it a title to be an Elder Vision. So this is what I'm assuming Krupp has been having this whole time. Or I mean, they could be separate incidences too, but I don't think that's the case.
yeah. Like you said, I mean, I just thought it was kind of like a dream too, and not so much a vision or anything. But I mean, it just kind of is what it is, and it's fun to get like a reveal on something. It's we had our interpretation, and not I guess that we weren't right, but I wouldn't say we were wrong either. We just didn't know
What was our interpretation?
that it was a dream,
Oh,
right?
right.
Like we both thought it was a
Yeah,
dream.
right. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. I thought you were swaying for some reason. No worries.
Oh, no worries.
Um,
Um, just like this was a pretty long section, but the just the description of how completely devastated everything was, and it really painted a pretty apocalyptic picture. And I don't know, the whole thing was just really cool. I was pretty focused, and when I was reading this, it was just it really drew me in and kept my attention. Sometimes you're reading things and you're just kind of like, all right, well, I don't really feel how or know how this is important, so I just kind of got to get through it. But this was, and not even so much that it was like a battle scene, but just the levels of description. uh it was just, I don't know, it's really good.
no, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. It's it was hard not to be sucked in reading this chapter. I know that I powered through it, I think Monday this week, and just read it all in one sitting because I couldn't put it down. I mean, unless I had to.
You just kind of wanted to keep going.
Yeah, I was like I said, I was very unexpected. It was very unexpected to have Reyes get pulled into this elder vision. And then I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like a slew of new information just was thrown at our way while he's in this elder vision. Like Onos Tulin, how did he end up there? I know some type of conjuring with the bone casters, which we really don't have a lot of information about yet. Also, Kirul coming out of nowhere and the gods bowing to mortals, etc. Like you don't really get that sense from this book, with Opon being a huge player and kind of manipulating things as well as like Krupp and his elder visions or his dreams, these are some type of prophecy or pattern given to him by whatever God is giving it to him. So it you don't really get that sense of what Karul is telling Reyes. And there's just a lot of like not hidden, but just a lot of new information that happens here. And it kind of makes me all feel like Krupp is a little bit more powerful than we've been led to believe this whole time.
I would think so. I got that feeling too. And then maybe like I was thinking about this Onos Tulin, and I was trying to remember back, but that is Tool, correct?
Correct, yeah.
That was with Lorne,
Correct, yeah.
or was that a separate
No,
character?
they're the same character.
Okay, so after they got out of the barrel, Tool said he wanted to watch and observe the tyrant, but I'm pretty sure he said he wasn't going to interfere.
See, that's what I thought
And he
too.
pretty clearly just interfered by fucking him up with a sword.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that this and I'm sure again, I've learned to have faith in, the author in the story. I I'm gonna be honest, I don't quite understand the whole how does him being clanless really have to do with anything? Like why him being in a clan or not, why does that really, I guess, why does that make it so he can or can't fight Reyes?
Because if he was in a like if because then he could be controlled, and then there must be some sort of way he could control all the other ones. So if he's not in a clan, I guess even if race did get control, then it's just over him.
So essentially,
But I thought they said that he couldn't even manage to do that,
right. So essentially,
if I'm remembering correct.
I think yeah, okay, now you're reminding me. So it sounds like that if Tool was connected to a clan, then essentially the tyrant would be able to enslave them again.
Yes.
Gotcha. That makes more sense.
The other thing that struck me as I was writing my summaries for this and got to the end of this, at the end of the previous chapter, when Circle Breaker was leaving and you saw Krupp sleeping, this is, I guess, where Krupp went to.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That's some good observation there, sir.
Totally didn't think about that the first time through, but the second time through, the dots kind of connected for me.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense now going back to it. And I didn't even think about it. But, in the previous episode, we talked about Krupp falling asleep at the end of the table. So I'm assuming that wasn't willingly. Like whoever is giving him these abilities is essentially forcing him to fall asleep where he is.
I guess I just kind of assumed that he's a fat little asshole who ate a whole bunch and got tired after eating and fell asleep.
But I think that's what the author may want us to think.
Well, it worked for me.
Yeah, that does work. He had me fooled.
Well, yeah. I mean, is there like there's hardly a moment where he doesn't have something in his hand going to his mouth.
Right. It's either that or a handkerchief wiping off sweat.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Because he's nervous.
Right, right.
Well, anything else you want to add to that first section there, sir?
I don't have anything. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, and we could probably spend an entire episode really nitpicking all of the little details in the section. But I feel for the most part, the summary was beautiful, and this was a great way to start the chapter.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I don't. It doesn't really let up much either.
No, it doesn't. It just keeps kicking you. But yeah, I mean, if you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, go ahead, take it away.
Kalam gestured, and Paran ducked down. To Paran, something was wrong with his garden. Mistaking the feeling around him for exhaustion, he thought he could see the darkness pulsate, and the smell of decay had thickened to a stench. Kalam reached for his knives. Ahead, gas lamps flickered, and people gathered on a terrace. Kalam gestured for Paran to stay where he was, and then was off into the shadows of the trees. Paran edged forward to where Kalam had once been. When he reached Kalam's previous position, he observed a clearing of some kind. A feeling of wrongness ached in Paran's skull. In the center of the clearing, something blockish stood there, maybe an altar of some kind. In front of it stood a small woman, with her back to Paran. The next moment, Kalam was behind her, drawing his knives back. The woman drives her elbow backwards and connects with Kalam's stomach. She then gets up, turns around, and drives her knee into Kalam's royal jewels. Paran, with sword in his hand, dashed into the clearing. The woman saw him and yelped a frightened, "No!" Paran stopped and Kalam sat up. Groaning, he says, "Damn it, sorry," and they all thought she was dead. The woman eyed Paran as he approached. Raising a hand, Sari slash Apsalar says to Paran, that she killed him. She collapses to her knees, recalling Paran's blood on her hands. Rage fired in Paran, raising his sword and moving to stand over her. Kalam tells him to wait, and that something is not right here. With great pain, Kalam stands up and goes to take a seat on the stone. Sari tells him not to sit on it and asks Kalam if he can feel it. Paran pipes in and admits that he can feel it, and then Sari informs Paran and Kalam that it's not stone, it's actually wood and it's growing. Suspicious, Paran asks Sari if she knows him. Sari shakes her head no, that she doesn't, but reveals that she does know Kalam and that they must have been friends. Kalam in the background kind of chokes on something as he hears this. Paran tells Kalam to stay there and winds his way through undergrowth to the terrace crowded with guests. Paran is able to see Whiskey Jack and his squad arrayed on the garden's edge. At the sound of Paran approaching, all 6 men turned around. Paran points at Whiskey Jack and Mallet. Whiskey Jack whispers something to Quick Ben and then approaches Paran. Paran tells Whiskey Jack that Kalam has found Sari and something else. Paran tells Whiskey Jack about Sari's strange behavior. Mallet grunts at this. Whiskey Jack inquires about this something else. Paran simply tells him that he doesn't know, but it's really ugly. Whiskey Jack tells Mallet to go with Paran and to take a look at Sari. Whiskey Jack asks Paran if they made contact with the Assassin's Guild. Paran tells Whiskey Jack that they have not, and Whiskey Jack informs Mallet to bring back Kalam as he needs to talk with him.
So kind of a lot of setup here.
Yeah, definitely a setup-y section. And I know that it took me a little bit, but there was some mental gymnastics, so to speak, to kind of put everybody where they are and just kind of create a visual environment for these characters, kind of central to this garden, so to speak. But yeah, think it's interesting that, I mean, this is the first time that Paran and Sari have met up without her trying to kill him. So I think this is the first time that Paran has encountered his killer from all those chapters ago.
I did not even think of that.
So like I can only imagine why he's fucking pissed.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, at minimum, mixed feelings, right?
Right. That's putting it lightly. Definitely some mixed feelings.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just so good. And I mean, this fucking weird thing sitting in this garden. I mean, this is totally the acorn or the finished, right? Like this has to be the finished. I don't know what else it would,
That's how I took it. Yeah.
but again, and this is another one of those unexpected things. Like I never would have imagined that this acorn would grow, even though I should have saw it coming, because acorns essentially sprout seeds and turn into trees.
Well, I don't think it's like actually an acorn, but it's. I mean, it was something small, but and and Lauren buried it, but I'm wondering. She must not have buried it very deep.
No,
Um,
probably not.
and then it started growing. But yeah, I was kind of like, why? How did they find this thing? But it grew.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that Sari ventured into the garden from, the quote unquote back wall where she's supposed to stay, because she probably saw this thing growing in front of her eyes. It doesn't seem like it's just, like where it grows over a long period of time. Like it seems like it's growing kind of at a rapid pace, or at least a consistent pace.
Yeah, like yeah, they see it happen.
I think it's because Sari only talks about her remembering killing Paran, but she doesn't really seem to give off any type of anything else about what Sari may have done in the past. And I think it was just really good, quick thinking on Kalam and Paran's part to just more so Kalam to recognize that like something's not right here, and Paran to be like, yeah, you're right. Let me go. Let me go find somebody.
Yeah, just to I guess make sure things don't escalate.
Escalate as well as to set aside your anger in that moment and recognize that the situation is much more uh I guess precious than getting revenge or killing the one that killed you even though you're still alive.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I would probably have a hard time like not being like, why shouldn't I slash your head off right now?
Right. Exactly. Like you fucking bitch, you're dead.
Exactly.
But yeah, I really liked this setup. And again, everything seems to be central to the garden, as it was in the previous chapter. We had characters moving in and out, and now all of that setup is leading us to the present chapter, present section, really.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I feel like we're getting beat over the head with this garden stuff, but it's still like it never really dawns on me till you start talking about it. Like, oh yeah, you're right. There it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that I am enjoying so far is like nothing feels old. Like everything that I'm reading in this book seems fresh. I'm really liking that. There's always, not necessarily always, but there's something new to be read.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's definitely not like anything I've read before.
No, not at all. What do you think Whiskey Jack whispered to Quick Ben?
I don't know. I did. I was. I didn't. I didn't really have any. I guess anything that jumped out to me that I thought maybe it's about this.
Yeah, I don't know.
What about you?
No, I don't have anything either. I just thought it was a really weird thing to put in there. The section would have been totally fine without that sentence. So I'm wondering if there has to be a reason, or maybe a setup to something that's going to happen in the future. But yeah,
Yeah, that very well could be.
but yeah, yeah, good setup piece. Really, I don't. If I were to like remove this section, I don't know if the chapter would have had as much of an impact as it did.
Yeah, just it's definitely more emotional with Paran interacting with Sari, and we even get more of that later on when we'll talk about that then.
Hmm. Yeah, but I guess those were my only thoughts on that particular section.
I don't think I had anything to add on top of what you excellently did.
Sweet. Well, let's keep the train rolling.
All right, we'll roll into the next section here. Rallick made his way across the chamber to the front doors. Guests interrupted their conversations as he passed and resumed once he cleared them. He was exhausted, more exhausted than he should be from the blood he had lost from a wound that had already healed. The discomfort he felt was emotional. He came across Krupp, who looked scared. Rallick tells him he should be terrified. Krupp tells Rallick to shut up. He needs to think. Krupp tells him to hit the road. Destiny is waiting. It seems this world was prepared for Race, no matter, quote, what flesh he wears. Rallick doesn't have a clue of what to make of this and thinks it's likely that Krupp is drunk. He doesn't know what to do now. His thoughts are muddied by his own success. As he walked, he thought this should have been Cole who went through this. He played the part of Cole's will. He hoped Cole's own will would return, but what if it didn't? A woman in a silver mask touched his arm before he could think of an answer. She tells him she's been curious about him for a while, but now she sees she should have kept a better eye on him. Ocelot's death was preventable after all. He instantly knew it was Vorkin. He says Ocelot was a fool, and if Orr's contract was sanctioned by the guild, he would take the punishment. Vorkin did not say anything to Rallick, and Rallick kept waiting. Vorkin said he is apparently a man of few words. Still, Rallick said nothing. Vorkin chuckled and said he awaits punishment as if he's already a dead man. Vorkin said that Orr possessed protective magic, yet it did him no good. How interesting, Vorkin says. She needs his skills and to follow her.
I think it's funny. I never really expected Rallick to. I don't know if he's necessarily doubting himself, but I think that he's kind of curious if, like, maybe he is feeling a little bit of guilt for maybe overstepping his bounds a little bit too much. Like, I think that in Call's perspective, what Rallick did for Call, while he'll appreciate, maybe he wanted to do it himself.
Yeah, I could see that. I kind of felt like Rallick just, he did these things, and I think he didn't think he was going to feel conflicted about it, but he is. Kind of like what we saw with Murillo at the end of the last chapter when they left Lady Simtal. Just the, kind of the doubts he had about things. I feel like that's kind of what we're getting here a little bit too.
Right. I feel like they're definitely similar, but I feel like Murillo feels a little bit more remorse for the death of Orr, kind of like a all life is precious kind of take on it, as well as Lady Simtel. Um, you know, we're assuming, or at least I'm assuming, that she's essentially going to take her own life because of things that we discussed in the previous chapter. So, but I don't get that sense with Rallick quite as much. I feel like they're definitely similar, but I think that he's he's debating, he's doubting something, and I don't know if I can quite put my finger on it like I could with Murillo. So maybe that's the difference.
It kind of seems like he's holding it a little closer to the chest.
Right.
That's how I felt, anyways. It kind of seemed like Murillo was a little more open about how he felt, and Rallick's maybe kind of starting to get there.
Right. Yeah. Like they had this, big plan of grandeur to get revenge. And while it's nice as the reader to kind of have that particular piece of the book come to a close, it's cool that the author is still incorporating some afterthoughts of that chain of events.
Right.
But I mean, outside of that, um, unexpected number three is I was not expecting Vorkan at all to basically reveal herself to Rallick and us, the readers.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were gonna get that or not, but we did.
Right, right. Yeah, we definitely did.
I think it was kind of cool.
It definitely was cool.
You know, we've heard about this character, and it's been kind of a mystery, but now here she is.
Here she is. Yeah, those were the only things that I had thoughts on in this particular section. I feel like again it was more of a definitely a setup piece and transitional for our characters.
Yeah, definitely transitional. I guess the only other thing I would add to it was I think this is the first time, or at least the first time that I can recall that we've seen Krupp be described as scared or fearful.
I would agree, but I mean, putting myself in Krupp's shoes, like holy shit! I mean, he just came up face to face, granted via a dream, but sometimes dreams can be pretty damn vivid, and this would scare the absolute fuck out of me. So I can only imagine.
Right? Yeah, yeah, not a dream I'd want to have.
Absolutely not. No, no, I'm good.
Well, if you're ready to move on, take it away.
Sweet. Crocus had hand upon Chalice's mouth, and he was laying on top of her. Crocus removes his thief's mask, and Chalice's eyes widen in recognition. Crocus tells her that if she screams, it'll be the end of her. Crocus then tells Chalice that he just wants to talk and he won't hurt her unless she screams and makes a run for it. He then removes his hand. Immediately, Chalice grills into him for what he's done, and not to mention if Gorliss finds out. Crocus then puts a hand over her bitch mouth again. Crocus asks who the fuck Gorliss is, and that why did she betray him. Chalice is confused as hell and tells Crocus that she doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Crocus relives the tale of the guard in the garden. She cuts him off at this point and says that they had hired a seer, and that seer discovered that a woman working for the rope had killed the guard. The seer was so scared that she left before she could even take payment. Crocus at this point let her go and sat on the ground. Chalice stood up and started brushing herself off. Crocus asks her what about Mies and the guards at his uncle's house and the hunt. Again, Chalice is like, what the fuck are you talking about? And tells him that she has to get going as Gorliss is looking for her. And if he finds her here, there will be trouble. Crocus springs to his feet and tells her to wait. Crocus tells her to forget the fool and that they'll be formally introduced in about a year, as his uncle is a famous writer. Chalice scoffs at this and shoots him and his uncle down, due to the lack of power and influence. She caps us off by saying that Gorliss loves her. Crocus starts to speak, but then cuts himself off as he gets lost in thought. Chalice snaps him back to reality and asks what it is that he wants from her. He blurts out company, friendship. Chalice makes the comment that before him, she'd never met a real thief. Crocus kind of takes like offense to this and explains to her what life as a thief is, and she wouldn't know real until she saw a man die. Chalice rebuttals and tells Crocus that she did witness someone die this evening, and that if that's what real is, then she didn't want any part of it. She walks away and leaves Crocus. Crocus just watched as she walked away, He turned to the garden, hoping Apsalar was still where he left her. So Crocus pretty much just friend zones himself. He just straight up friend zones himself, which I find interesting because in his moments of, thought that he gets lost in, he's kind of debating if he loves her or not, in kind of a response to Chalice admitting that Gorliss loves her.
I was wondering, like, when we first get this name, like Gorliss, like, who the hell is this?
It's messed up because in the last chapter, I thought that Chalice had just forgotten his name and thought
Yes.
his name was Gorliss. But I see now that that is not right. But that's what I had initially thought.
Yeah, I guess I did. Maybe I jumped a little quick before you were done talking, but I was thinking she must have been expecting somebody else. Well, obviously she was. She was expecting Gorliss, but I don't know. That just like it caught me off guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I've not gonna lie, I feel a little bad for Crocus. Feel just a little bad for him. I mean, he keeps making like really shitty like mistakes and poor decisions, and I feel like there's almost never any like payoff for Crocus from these decisions, either good or bad.
Yeah, I'm I'm kind of wondering if he's going to survive this book.
Yeah, I question that too, but I also question because Chalice doesn't seem to know about uh Mies or the guards at his uncle's house. I was I'm assuming the hunt means the hunt for Crocus to go to the high gallows. Um, but is it just Chalice wasn't privy to what her father was doing? Or is there maybe some like sabotage happening either with Mies or Irelta? You know what I mean? Like, because Mies, I'm pretty sure, is the one who told him about all that. So is she kind of working for the enemy in this case? Or so maybe it really was a good thing that he just abandoned her? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah,
Like we
you're
thought it was
spinning some conspiracies
right,
here.
right. I mean, we thought it was a bad idea for him to just ditch Mies, but maybe that was what saved him.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Food for thought. Yeah, who knows where that'll go, but
Definitely food for thought.
yeah, I'm not sure. It kind of feels like a goodbye on Chalice's part. I don't really imagine that they'll see each other in this book again, but I guess that's just me. It just kind of feels like an end to these interactions with these two characters.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on that. It almost seems like a middle school breakup or something, doesn't it?
Right, right. Like the note that says, I don't like you anymore. But if it is middle school, maybe they'll get back together in like 3 days. Then
Come Monday, things will be fine.
right, right, right. Yeah. You didn't text me all weekend, but I like you now.
Yeah.
You're too clingy. Oh, we didn't talk all weekend. I really missed you.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess those are the only things that I had for this section. Um, I don't know about you, but I'm good to move on if you are.
Sure. All right. Mallet came to a stop in the opening of the woods. With Pran grabbing his arms, they looked into each other's eyes. How romantic. Mallet said this is as far as he goes. Whatever is in there hates his Warren, and it seems to sense him or hunger for him. They'll have to bring the girl to him. The block of wood, or the thinnest, was now as big as a table. Kalam sent Sari over to Mallet, and she smiled as she went to Mallet. Pran comments that he's never seen Sari smile before, and that was a shame. Pran noticed that the storm had stopped. Kalam said he hoped he was right and that it was going to be a long night as it wasn't even midnight yet. They heard Mallet yelp and turned around. He said the possession was gone. Pran surmised as much. Mallet said there was more, though. There's someone else in here. There's something on the wing. Something. For you Ace Ventura fans. Someone who was in there all along, but he didn't know how it survived the rope's presence. Now he has to make a choice. Pran needs more information. Mallet says whoever this is has been protecting Sari. She would have went insane if she remembered anything of what she'd done the last 2 years. Whoever this presence is fighting those memories, but it needs help because it's dying. Pran asks if he is going to help. Mallet says he doesn't know because he doesn't know what it wants. He doesn't want her to end up possessed again. Pran, to make sure he understands, says this presence is protecting Sari only to take her over for itself. Mallet says, well, yeah, kinda, and he realizes it doesn't make much sense, but why else would she fight for Sari so hard? Pran says it's a woman? Well, it was, said Mallet. He's not sure what it is now. He only senses sadness. Pran says he won't give an order, but he does think he should help. And that was also Mallet's thought. Suddenly, Kalam says to show yourselves as a man and woman enter the clearing. So, Justin, this is your big moment. I know you've been waiting for this.
It's Riga!
Has to be. 100% has to
I'm
be.
pissed that I doubted
There's
myself.
no way it's not.
I thought I was fucking going crazy, man. Fucking knew it.
I'm not gonna say I doubted you, but I just don't know that I ever really bought into it, and I'm glad the payoff was there for you, because when I read that, I was really excited and I was really happy. I had a huge smile when I read that and recognized what it was.
Yes. I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Man, I mean, from the very first chapter, I knew that there was something wrong. And we don't get a payoff until 60 pages before the end. It's a lot of doubt. But I mean, just
yeah, that's true.
how many episodes did I rant about this being a thing and then finally just giving up, Like, I should have just persisted through. But yeah, I don't know. There was just so many clues that just led to it not being true. I guess what I thought was a out in left field play is a home run. I don't know if I really have anything else for that particular section. I mean, I feel like that's the biggest reveal.
Sure.
In that part of the section. So, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I was just happy. I was just happy that I'm not crazy.
I never thought you were crazy.
I'm not saying you thought I was crazy. I'm saying that the author made me feel crazy.
That's sometimes how it goes. They put thoughts in your head, and
it was almost as if I was possessed.
Oh.
My own little
did it for me there.
My own little Riga.
Yeah. You better tame that shit down.
Yeah, I know. She's not seeing very well because she should have saw this.
Right, exactly.
I'll have to get a new one.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Okay. No worries. All right. Crocus approached closer on the forest floor. The voices he had heard in his search for Afslar had been that of two males and a female with a silver mask. Slowly, Crocus let out a breath when he recognized one of those men as Rallick Nam. From Crocus's position, he was able to overhear all conversations held in this clearing. They were all staring at the strange-looking wooden house-shaped structure. The woman in the mask commented that there was ill in this weird structure. Kalam agrees and reassures her that it is definitely not Malazan. Crocus at this point is dumbfounded. Malazan spies and Vorkan were in the same area? He couldn't believe it. Vorkan asks Rallick how it makes him feel. He simply says that it doesn't. Vorkan asks him to approach it. When Rallick approached the strange object, it stopped growing. Rallick admits to everyone that he had rubbed Otateral dust on himself. Vorkan tells him that it seems to be damaging its efforts to grow. Kalam at this point recognizes Rallick and recalls the events of the ambush. Kalam tells them all that he was surprised that Rallick survived. Vorkan agreed that Rallick is full of surprises. She goes on to tell Kalam of the bridge burners that his request had reached her, but before she could begin, she would like it if the rest of their party would join. At this moment, Mallet and Paran emerged carrying Apslar between them. Crocus's head was reeling at what he had just heard. Vorkan looks to Kalam, and Kalam begins to explain about the proposed contract on the real rulers of Jerujistan, 100,000 Jakatas, and the Empress offers the mantle of the city's control and title of the High First. Vorkan seems shocked and states that the Empress would give her 900,000 Jakatas. Kalam tells her that if that's the number, then yes. Vorkan explains that the Torod Cabal is a powerful force. And before she answers, she would like to know about the creature approaching from the east. She goes on to explain that 5 dragons have opposed it, and she assumes that the Torod Cabal and the Son of Darkness have some sort of an agreement. Kalam understands where this is going and explains to Vorkan that they were not the ones who released the monster, and they will gladly welcome its destruction by the Son of Darkness. Kalam elaborates to Vorkan that they do not wish her to challenge the Lord of Moonspawn, because the alliance between Moonspawn and the Cabal will dissolve after all the Cabal leaders are killed. Vorkan finally accepts the contract, but she will not waste her assassins on this one. These assassinations require that of a high mage, so she will do them herself. Vorkan begins to ask about her payment, to which Kalam interjects and tells her that they will be delivered by Warren when the deed is done. She tells Kalam that she accepts the contract and that she must begin immediately. She turns to Rallick and tells him to stay put, as he seems to be stopping this thing from growing. Rallick grumbles and asks how long he's to stay put. Morgan tells him that he's to stay there until she returns. She also reveals to Rallick that Ocelot's actions were not sanctioned by the guild, and his punishment was to be death. She thanks Rallick for doing so on behalf of the guild. Crocus watched as Vorkan made her exit. Rallick just kind of sits on the stump, or whatever this thing is, and the man carrying Apsalar backs towards the back wall. The man carrying Apsalar heads towards the back wall of the garden. And then finally, Kalam and Rallick make their exit. Sorry, Kalam and Mallet. It took everything in Crocus's power to control himself from springing out there and confronting Rallick. Suddenly, Rallick gets up and looks straight at him, beckoning Crocus to come. Crocus does. Rallick tells him that he hides well, and he is lucky that Vorkan left her mask on, and that's the reason why Crocus couldn't be seen. Rallick then explains, before Crocus could condemn him, that Crocus needs to find Baruch, as he's likely still at the fete, and tell him what has transpired here. Rallick continues to tell Crocus that if Baruch has gone home to find Mammoth instead. Crocus then at this point makes the connection, with Rallick's help, that his uncle is part of the Cabal. Rallick admits to Crocus that Baruch's presence is needed for the weird thing he will sit on. Crocus tells Rallick to consider it done, At that moment, a roar of pain and agony shook the trees. The strange object behind them burst with bright yellow fire. Rallick pushed Crocus out of the way and jumped on top of the fire. The fire winked out and cracks appeared, spreading in all directions. Crocus bolts for Lady Simitel's estate. Okay, so I guess one more previous thing about the previous section is that this was another thing that I was not expecting. But moving on to this current section, I lost my train of thought.
I hate it when that happens.
I know. I know. I know. Fuck. Oh well. It'll come back to me. But I guess I just really loved the way that this section was like set up because you almost get this sense as like you're witnessing and overhearing and eavesdropping like you would like Crocus would is I guess how I read this is I imagine myself crouched in like woods on my stomach laying prone like watching all of these events unfold. So I thought that was pretty cool. It just kind of pulled me into the story a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, you just really felt a part of it, didn't you?
Yes, I totally did. I totally did.
It's always fun when that happens.
I think it's I feel like there's so much to dissect here. There's a lot that happened in this section. And again, it's I had to like really do a lot of mental gymnastics to try to like remember where everybody is from this previous section. You know, I know that I messed up a few times in the summary, but yeah, it's just lots of pieces moving, lots of characters kind of coming to and fro.
Yeah, there's that's a very good way to put it. I agree with you. Lots hither and well, I don't know what the tither and hither.
Yep.
I don't know the words.
Yeah, that works. But I find it interesting. I find it interesting that in the section that you just read, the thinnest is a table, but at this point, by the time I'm reading my section, it's described as almost like a small house.
Yeah, it's just freaking going and going and going.
Right. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, and the unexpected. I feel like that's the theme of this chapter is just so many unexpected things. Like, and I feel kind of stupid for it, but like the Otatero dust. I don't know why I didn't think of that as he's like putting it on himself. You know, on his way to kill Ocelot. I don't know why I didn't think of it as Otatero dust. We've been introduced to the sword for I don't know, three-fourths of the book now. Like, I don't know why I didn't connect the dots there.
I guess I didn't feel like he put more on him. It was just like from when he put it on the first time because I thought he dumped it all on himself
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
before he climbed up. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's just going back to that chapter, reading that part where he's like, bathing himself with this rust-colored dust. Why I didn't, and even Baruch or Rallick giving us the perspective of that interaction between him and Baruch explaining what this dust does. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't believe I didn't make that connection there.
Oh, I guess yeah, I was a little different. I didn't have that. I guess hesitation.
So when you,
I I figured it must have been, it was that's what was letting it happen.
oh, so you had a suspicion that it was some type of Otatero dust from the beginning?
I feel like, yeah, well, when it stopped growing, you mean?
I think we're on two different things here. No, when yes, definitely. I think the Otatero dust is having an effect on the thinnest growing. Yeah, but I'm talking about Rallick when he first put the dust on him. when he's on his way to kill Ocelot.
Yep. Well,
That's
we were told, yeah, there's going to be side effects. I don't know if side effects was the word that was used, but that's basically what it was, right?
right, right. But in that moment, I don't know why I didn't associate the dust with the Ota Terrell sword because they do the same thing and they repel magic. Like that's what I'm not. That's what I'm
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like. Yeah.
I still, I still had a little bit of a feeling, maybe just not as strong as I projected initially. But yeah, I thought they were tied together to some extent.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, look at you. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I feel like that was an easy miss. I should have caught that.
I don't know that I'd say that. I don't like. I didn't really have anything to go on to like support it. It was just kind of like, well, it kind of makes sense.
It's just kind of a feeling. But
Yeah,
I mean either way you look at it, it's still I guess I would see it as an accomplishment, right? Like whether you picked up on it at that point or not, you still get that payoff of like, oh man, I was right about that like really weird, strange hunch, all those chapters ago. Versus like, oh, that makes sense, that like aha moment. So both of them are pretty, I don't know, awesome to have.
yeah, they are. But I guess it's more than anything, it's nice to know, like, okay, well, that's like, we definitely know, like, what it is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like definitively set as this is what it is. Mhm. It makes sense.
Right.
Um, did you catch that Vorkan is a high mage?
I don't think I caught that the first. Yeah. No, I don't think I did. See, then I missed something like that.
It's all good. Um, but what I find interesting about that is she states that she's not going to waste any of her assassins on that one, which I mean makes sense, right? Like if she's a high mage, she's probably going to be the more capable one of
Yeah.
executing these assassins. But but is this really about her being a high mage and sparing assassins, or is this about the Jakatas and the title of High First? Because we know, right? Like we the readers know that Kalam, Whiskey Jack, Paran, we know what their real intent is. We know what their real goal for Darujistan is, and that is to make space for Dujek and his army. So basically, Vorkan is going to do all this for naught. Like she'll probably still get paid based on some of the things that Kalama said, but they never intend to give her control of the city.
No, yeah, I think you're right about that. But I mean, still, that's a ton of money, and that even if she doesn't have control of the city, she should have a shitload of money to do whatever she wants with.
Unless these new occupants of Darujistan come in with a different currency.
Didn't really think of that. Way to shoot it down, my theory down. But it's very legitimately possible.
Right. I mean, what if they just barter? Her money's no good there. Your money's no good
True.
there.
I doubt that's the case, but I'm sure they have some currency.
Oh, well, right, right, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was an abstract thought and I really dig it. Did you did you feel like Ocelot was definitely more of a dick after Vorkan reveals she that the hit on call wasn't sanctioned by the guild?
Yeah, it's a dick move.
It just kind of like,
Definitely, definitely a dick move.
yeah, he he it definitely put the cap on like, yep, Ocelot was an asshole. And just kind of like makes your suspicions come to fruition a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just a reassurance that you don't feel bad about him getting smoked.
Right, right. Getting smoked. Yeah, I don't have any empathy for him.
No, none at all.
But yeah. I just kind of wonder why Rallick is going along with this. I mean, he clearly doesn't agree because he's warned Crocus to warn the Cabal essentially, but I mean, I don't really. He doesn't really make any type of attempt to dissuade Vorkan at all. Is that just simple obedience, or is there a different game here?
I don't know.
I feel like there's something up with that. And again, like it kind of the way that the story reads or is going so far is that all of these people are in cahoots, but you have to remember that they're still technically on opposite sides, right? Like Crocus, Rallick, Murillo, Krupp, they don't want Jerujistan to fall into Malazan's hands. Yes, the bridge burners are kind of a I don't know what the word is for it, but a little mutinous crew because their empire has pretty much pushed them to extinction. So this is their way of fighting back, but there's still their goals, even though they're not the same as Empress Lysine, are uh kind of similar to Lysine's in that they still want Darujistan for themselves so that they have an army to fight the Malazans. So they're not really on the same side here, but it's funny to me that Ralph doesn't even put up a fight.
Yeah, especially when, yeah, it, I mean, we know he's capable of a lot, so just to almost, see him get kind of pushed over a little bit is kind of almost what you don't expect.
Right. Right.
I don't know if I made much sense.
No. Yeah, I mean you did. Yeah. I just sorry,
Oh, okay.
I got
Thanks.
lost in the summary for a second. Yeah. I feel like I didn't read a part of it, but I'm pretty sure that I did.
Yeah, I don't think you skipped over anything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I ended with Crocus bolts for Lady Scimitar's estate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry, continue. What were you saying? Or did you conclude your thought?
I, I think my thought was over there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um yeah, I guess the only other thing that I found was interesting is that Kalam reveals that or not Vorkan, but Lucine was once an assassin. And so she follows like, assassin rules and expectations, and therefore the money is pretty much guaranteed to Vorkan.
I thought we heard that earlier. I thought we heard that towards the beginning of the book.
Maybe I know that she had claw assassins with her, but I guess I don't remember. I don't remember all 6 months ago. What?
Yeah, it's been a little bit, I guess, but I, it's certainly possible that I'm mistaken. But I thought we were told that at some point in the story early on.
Could be. Yeah, I guess if that's true, I don't remember.
No worries.
No worries. And then I guess the only other thing that I have is that the roaring pain and agony that shook the trees. I'm guessing that this is Reyes finding his new body.
I think that is likely. I don't. Nothing else would really make sense.
Right. Yeah, because it totally it was jarring when I read the book. And again, another thing that like I wasn't expecting, So like things just keep like they mellow out a little bit and then like something happens and then they mellow out a little bit and then like something else happens and it's just kind of a crazy roller coaster of a chapter.
I mean, you're kind of describing the whole book here, also.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's definitely a roller coaster and one that I am having fun on.
Oh yeah.
But those were my only thoughts for that section, which had a lot of little trinkety pieces of information in it.
All right. March on.
Sweet.
Baruch signaled for the carriage to stop. Something happened, he said to Rake. They left too early. Rake says to hold on a minute. The tyrant is weakened, and there are enough mages left to deal with him. He tells Baruch to return home and wait for the Empire's next move. It won't be long. Baruch wants to know what's happening. Will he challenge the tyrant or not? Rake says only if it's necessary. In the meantime, the streets need to be emptied. He's assuming Baruch wants to minimize casualties. Baruch wants to know how the fuck he expects that to be done. There's 300,000 people in the city, and every goddamn one of them is in the streets. Rake says he'll take care of it. He just needs to get up high. Baruch says Cruel's belfry. Rake says they'll speak later. Baruch tells him it's 300 paces to the tower. Is he going to walk? Rake says yes. He's not ready to expose his warren yet. He whips out Dragnipur and yells, if you value your souls, make way.
I want to know what Rake is going to do at the fucking tower. Like, how is he going to get 300,000 people off the streets from the tower? Or am I, like, not associating that correctly?
Well, I assume, a few thousand people probably saw him when he just, took his sword out. And I imagine word will probably spread pretty quick. I don't know, but maybe he's going to go up on top of the tower and like hold his sword up, and it's going to be like struck by lightning or something. And I don't know.
Maybe they're not connected. I don't know. That was weird. It was a short little piece.
It was, but I liked the interaction, and I like that Rake's just like, I'm going to take care of it. Like, don't worry. And just the description of his sword, I didn't do it any justice, but it says Rake raised high, the sword groaned awake, chains of smoke writhing from the blade, a terrible sound as of wheels creaking filled the air, and behind it arose a chorus of moaning filled with hopelessness. Before Lord Anomander Rake, the crowd on the streets shrank back. All thoughts of festivity were swept away.
That is
just I liked, when Paran was within the sword, we got the creaking wheel, but just that coming up again, and just the sound of hopelessness. Like, what does that sound like? Well, I guess now I'm going to think of a creaky wagon wheel. Is the sound of hopelessness?
Yeah, every time you feel hopeless, you're just gonna hear that in your head now,
Yes.
huh? Damn you, Steven Erickson. Damn you.
It's okay. I can live with that.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really have a lot for this section, so it seemed transitional and set-up-y,
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I didn't really have anything else here either. So we can keep going here if you're ready.
Sweet. Paran joined Whiskey Jack and Quick Ben at the fountain. Paran informs them of their meeting with the guild and the guild accepting the contract. Quick Ben realizes that he doesn't have a headache anymore and wonders if he should access his warren. Whiskey Jack says why the hell not? Quick Ben slips into the shadow of a pillar. At that moment, an old man wearing a ghastly mask was making his way towards Whiskey Jack's line of men. A huge-breasted woman and her servant approached the man. Suddenly, a stream of energy flowed between Paran and Whiskey Jack and hit the old man in the chest. Whiskey Jack's sword was in his hand as he turned to find where his wizard was. Magic swirled from Quick Ben as he pushed Whiskey Jack out of the way and raced towards the woman. Paran drew his sword and sprinted forward. A bestial roar stemmed from the old man as he set his eyes on the voluptuous woman next to him. A stream of energy stemmed from the old man. Quick Ben collided with the woman and then her servant, and they both toppled to the ground, safely out of the way. The stream of energy cut a swath into the crowd, incinerating everything it touched. The energy branched outwards to trees and stone and marble, destroying everything. One tendril of energy reached for the sky, while another wreaked havoc on Lady Scimitar's estate. and a third struck towards Paran as he closed the distance. The power struck the sword, and Paran, along with his weapon, vanished. The sergeant stepped forward, and as he did, something struck his shoulder, spun around, his right knee buckled. Whiskey Jack could feel the bones snap. After wrestling away from a toppled pillar, Fiddler was grabbing Whiskey Jack's cloak and dragging Whiskey Jack to safety. Whiskey Jack at this point falls unconscious. Quick Ben found himself underneath the pile when he felt pressure against his back and shoulder as the woman pushed herself upright, shouting at Mamet, Anne Calith Arrest? Quick Ben's eyes widen as he felt the surge of energy from the woman. The woman yells, Arrest, as a pulse of energy hits Mamet. Mamet yells in pain. She calls for Quick Ben's backup and explains that Mamet has been possessed by the Jaghut. Quick Ben surveys his surroundings, noticing that Whiskey Jack was not where he had been, and neither were the others. Crumbled bodies lay everywhere, and for those that had survived had fled. The woman beckons Quick Ben to act quickly. As Mamet is recovering and she has not much left to contribute to this fight, Quick Ben just stares at her.
Do we have a rival for your soft pillows?
No. She
just,
will
just
never
checking.
take soft pillows places.
Okay.
No. Tattersail is mine, and her pillows of soft are mine. And this other woman can just join us.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Hey,
we've decided to become polyamorous.
if that works for you, then that's great.
Yeah, I love it. Nothing better.
Yeah. Holy shit. Did fucking everything just fucking get exponentially more intense. Like, I loved this section. I liked reading this section.
I had a little bit of a hard time following it.
My summary or the chapter? Because I felt like I was a little chaotic with it.
Just with like the energy going everywhere.
Yeah. I think that what energy was meant for the voluptuous woman, Soft Pillows Part 2, just for whatever reason ended up cascading or rebounding into the crowd of people and just fucking like decimating them. And, it was such a visceral image in my head. Like, I know that it was described that like body parts were missing and like cut in half, and they're just it was fucking brutal. And then that energy just kind of like bounces and starts to, I guess, evolve in a way. It starts off as just this energy that decimates an entire crowd, but then gets larger and maybe more multitask with it. So
It feels weird that like energy like would multitask. Like,
I mean, it is Omotos Falak. I mean, it's fucking ancient as hell.
True.
But I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I totally can see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, this was probably the section that I struggled with the most out of this chapter, but I mean, there's like one in everything, right? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Well, I think that going back to, my previous section, the roar of pain and agony that shook the trees as Crocus and Rallick and, the Finis blowing up. Well, not blowing up, but igniting in yellow fire. I think that is supposed to coincide with this section as the stream of energy that, so like Whiskey Jack and Paran are like standing next to each other. Mamet is in front of them, and then this very breasty woman approaches Mamet. And I always imagined that this like stream of fire, splits Whiskey Jack and Paran, down the middle, like goes in between them, and then hits Mamet in the chest. I think that is erased
moving bodies or possessing Mammoth. And then from there, you know, Jaghut possessed essentially is just on a fucking rampage at this point. That's kind of how I took it.
That was a little easier to follow that way for me.
Yeah. I don't know what uh I forget her name, Derudin.
Daruden?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the busty woman because she had a servant with her. Why he's not naming her in this section, I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Derudin or Derudin. And I'm not sure what she's shouting. I don't know what this Annie Khalith arrest means. But I mean, I looked at the back of the book. I looked in the Dramatis Personae. I didn't see anything about that particular phrase, so I'm not sure really what that means. So there definitely is like a level of mystery in this section, but for the most part, I feel like I was able to follow what it was that happened. Darudin is basically taking on the Jaghut possessed, and at the end is asking for Quick Ben's help to help defeat it or keep it at bay or whatever. And I think Quick Ben at the end of this section is just in shock that all he can do is just stare at her.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Whiskey Jack's fucking
But
leg is
he's just
broken.
staring.
Right. Yeah, I mean there's a lot that's happening, and he essentially saves Darudin and and her servant's life by knocking them out of the way. And if it wasn't for quick thinking, they would probably be dead. And one less contract or one less person for Vorkan to kill.
Oh, he just lost 100,000
Jakarta.
points.
Um, but yeah, I mean it was definitely a more chaotic section. Lots of things happening, but I think that as things go on, things kind of fall in place here.
Yeah, it's. I still don't know how things are going to get tied up, but we're definitely getting closer.
Right. The only other thing that I thought was, I guess, stood out for me was when Paran is drawing his sword, shortly after Mammoth gets possessed, it's described that the sword keened in terror. And so, keened, from what I understand from looking it up online, is a word of like sadness or sorrow. And I'm not sure how sorrow and terror or being afraid have in common. So I'm curious, is like Opan being empathetic, or is he being a cowardice asshole? Because there's, definitely something going on with Paran's sword. So I still believe that Opan has influence over it.
It's a hard one for me to pick a side on.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna go more with the cowardice.
That's where I would go. I have a hard time seeing Opan being empathetic.
And I mean, we've seen Open scared before, so that's what I would go with.
Yeah, but I'm sure that like Opan is shitting your pants. Is shitting their pants. But yeah, those are really my only thoughts for that particular section. So I'm cool with moving on if you're cool.
Sure. This one I liked a lot. It was pretty cool. It reminded me a lot of when Paran was in Dragnipur. But here goes. A storm raged in the sky above Paran. He had chance in his hand, and the sword was hot and moaning. He studied the sky, watching the lightning. He heard a crash to his right. As he looked that direction, he saw a figure 1,000 paces away. Another figure appeared and was in retreat from whatever the first figure was. They were getting closer to him. Behind him, he heard bubbling sounds, and a house rose out of the lake, steaming. Another sound behind him, and this time it was the fighters. A Talan Imus with a two-handed sword. Despite the weapon and its skill, it was still being driven back. The opponent, the Finnist, described with jagged features, is in a blood rage and strikes the Imus, sending it basically to Pran's feet. Pran looks down at it. It says that Azath is not ready. It's too young, doesn't have enough strength to imprison the Finnist. When the tyrant fled, I sought out its power. Defend the Azath. The Finnist seeks to destroy it. Pran looked at the figure drawing nearer. Defend against that? Is he fucking crazy? It's my best Bill Paxton aliens impersonation. Not very good.
Loved
He
it.
didn't have a choice. He swung chance. It swept through the energy and did nothing, but the power came over Pran. Pain, blindness raced through him. His thoughts and sense of self dissolved. Pran felt like an invisible hand closed around him. He heard mine in his mind. You are mine. He fell to his knees and dropped chance. He had no choice. He could only obey. A fleeting thought came to his mind. A tool, nothing more. All I have done, all I have survived to reach but this. He heard sound over and over, louder and louder, howling. He felt the cold retreat replaced with heat. Paran howled, the blood of a hound, blood no one can enslave. The Finnist faltered back, his body filled with pain, but he could feel the strength building. He launched an attack at the Finnist, beating it, biting it. The Finnist tried to push Paran off, but could not. The Imus pulled him off and told him to stop. The Azath would take it now. The Imus looked at him. Paran picked up chance and said, "Damn luck turned. Something to say, Imus?" He said he was a long ways away from home.
I'm curious as to your thoughts about this whole section because I feel like this section really stretched my creative thinking.
How so?
I just what is the Azath? What I mean, like, and the Talani mass goes from fighting Reyes to fighting the Finnist now, and then Haran gets engulfed by this Finnist, but somehow is able to overcome it. To which I'm assuming now gives either Tool or the Azath uh, a way of conquering or beating it. I mean, I know that it's supposed to be in this kind of like, abstract type world. I'm not exactly sure where he got sent to, but it just kind of seems this like epic boss fight that you would get into like a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I see that for sure.
So that's kind of where like I understand what happened and things make sense, but they don't make sense at the same time. Is kind of I guess the way that I'm feeling about it.
I kind of felt like the Finnist must be like an extension of race. Like you must use that to help enslave people, and I feel like that's kind of like what happened. But where I can understand your struggle a little bit because the part I struggle with is we hear how strong Ray is supposed to be. He just enslaves everything, and then Paran like beats it. Like so, what is that saying about Bran? Is he the mortal that's going to take him out?
I mean,
Like
maybe. Yeah, I don't.
I don't know. I kind of got mixed signals there a little bit.
I feel like the Finnist and Reyes, as you pointed out, they're two different entities here. And I think that once they are joined, they are kind of like that unstoppable force. But being that they're separated at the moment, they are, I guess, they can be killed or destroyed, if that makes sense. is kind of what I'm getting. Like that's the vibe I'm getting from what is happening here. And maybe I just need to go back in and like really read it more carefully, but it's not like I haven't read the chapter twice now. So
Oh,
yeah.
you definitely should have done that then.
Reread it?
You should have read it twice. You should have read it twice.
I did read it twice.
I know. I was just being dumb.
Oh, damn. Sent me doubting again. But yeah, I feel like this section was very abstract with a lot of new information. And again, how does Tool keep showing up?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there's a purpose to it, but it just kind of seems like, oh, I don't have anybody to fight the Finnest. Let's just put Tool in there.
Like he's just kind of the convenient choice or something.
Right, yeah, because of the fact that, even if he was to be defeated, nothing gets extended to anybody else beyond that, But also, wasn't the whole point of Mammoth getting stuck in the Jaghut barrow was that he had a connection to the goddess of disease, and Mammoth ends up being fucking possessed anyway. Which, how the hell? Clearly he wasn't stuck there. Clearly Reyes knew of him hanging out in the barrow, even though Mammoth probably had no idea.
You know what? I didn't even think of that because yeah, like how convenient. Like that's who's in the barrel and that's who gets taken over, like possessed.
Right. So I think Reyes
I,
just decided not to make a move because he may have needed a scapegoat.
connections that I just did not make until we started talking.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, I definitely I see two battles happening in this chapter. I see the Reyes battle, and then I see, you know, Jaghut possessed with Mammoth, and then I see this battle with the Finnest. So I think that like all of these are kind of coming to a head as we reach the end of the chapter. So that's kind of where, when um Tool in this particular section is saying like the Azath would take it now. I'm assuming based on this chapter or this section that Paran was able to weaken the Finnest with his will or whatever luck, or the whole damned luck turned is did the Finnest pick up the sword? I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but I can't make any other sense of that comment.
I don't think it did. I'm pretty positive that it didn't.
Okay. Can you make heads or tails of that comment? Like, why would he pick up chance and say, "Damned luck turned"?
Well, I just yeah, when he always told when the luck turned to give the sword to his worst enemy,
Right?
right? So maybe that's what will happen next.
Maybe.
It's the only thing I can kind of think of.
Yeah. Basically, what I've gathered is that the Finnest was beaten by Paran and Chance enough to whatever this Azath is would be able to overcome it, or no longer they are no longer battling, is what I'm getting from this, and that the Azath has taken control of the Finnest is kind of what I'm getting here.
I don't know. I guess I didn't get the sense that it would like take over or control it. Just that it would be almost like imprisoned, and obviously not in the barrel, but like that's kind of what I thought was just going to cage it more or less.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's perfect. That is much better than what I had. Caged is a perfect. It's kept at bay.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I guess very interesting chapter. I really enjoyed the abstractness of it. I just wish that I was as confident about what I was reading as I do some of the other sections. I'm cool to move on if you are.
Sure. Yep. Definitely not a problem there. The only other thing I would add maybe here quick is how weird is it that there's a house rising up out of the lake and like we didn't even bat an eye at it, you or I. We're just like, nothing to see here.
Right. And maybe that house was the thinnest.
I guess, yeah, I didn't think of that.
I mean, the last we knew, it was shaped like a house. So maybe that is where Erickson was trying to lead us to maybe draw in more
That,
connections. I don't know. I'm probably gonna
sure.
read this chapter again one more time, just because it's so interesting. All right. Haran reappears moments later, stumbling and falling in a heap. Quick Ben, seeing this, wonders where the hell he's been. A jaghut curse escapes Mammoth's mouth, and he regains his footing. He trembled with rage, eyes staring at Quick Ben. Quick Ben calls out, "Awaken the seven within me!" Quick Ben roared as 7 warrens opened within him, and dealt them towards the terrace. The jaghut possessed threw up his arms to cover his face. Mammoth's body is brutalized to shreds from the massive wave of energy. Quick Ben closes his warrens and says that he's done. Dedurin grabs her cloak, or grabs, sorry, Quick Ben's cloak and points to a man over the way and asks what he's doing. Quick Ben recognizes this man as Hedge. Hedge's eyes showed a maniacal gaze and a large crossbow pointed at Mammoth. Quick recognized this and quickly leapt into action, diving for the woman a second time. He heard the sound of the bolt strike something. Quick Ben closed his eyes before colliding with the woman. This section gave me a little bit more confusion, but I think I figured it out. But before I do,
Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
ooh, okay. So at first, I thought that Mammoth or the Jaghut possessed Hedge. But I think that what's happening here is that Hedge is, and this will come up in the later section, but I think he's aiming at something else. I don't think that initially I thought that he was being possessed, but now I'm pretty sure he's not, and he's actually just making a very risky decision at this point, which we can swing back to in the last section.
Sounds fair.
Did you get that feeling at all? Did you feel like he was being possessed?
I guess I don't really remember, to be perfectly honest.
Okay. Also, can we talk about the fact that Quick Ben's able to conjure 7 Warrens? Up to this point, I thought it was just 1 per person.
Something else I did not recognize, but I do recognize that Quick Ben is a badass.
Fucking badass.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
he can conjure 7 fucking. I just want to know what they are. Like, what do we know?
I don't know.
I mean, I know that like most get assigned to some type of Warren. Like Rake, for example, or Reyes, and some of the other ones.
What's
And,
that?
oh, I was just saying, like, the only one that I can really deduce that Quick Ben is the Warren of Chaos, because earlier on in the book he meets Hairlock there.
Well, how many have we been introduced to?
Probably 7. Okay, all right, moving on. This is where you'll have to read what I wrote, and I'll read what you wrote, or I can read this one and you can read the other one. It doesn't matter to me.
You know what? I think it would be fun if I read what you wrote and vice versa.
Sounds good to me.
We had a little snafu here, so these are Justin's words, not mine. Crone flew tight circles around over the plain where the Jaghut had been. He had come within 50 paces of the dragon and then disappeared. To Crone, it had been a glorious night, and she was reluctant to leave. She knew she had other places to be. With a chuckle, she tells herself, what a waste of energies. And all for what? More questions. She observed the two soul-taken Tisty-Andy dragons, as neither wanted to leave, as they were curious to know the result of the Jaghut tyrant. Solana gets up and takes to the sky with her warren. Giving off a shriek, Crone rises above the trees. Rises above the trees. Crone rises and sees what Solana had seen. With joy and anticipation, she shrieked. And now it comes. It comes.
I haven't the faintest idea what it is. I'm maybe this is Rake in the Karul Tower doing something. I mean, they're both in the sky. They have a good vantage point. You know, they're pretty near to the Darujistan city. So I don't know why she would call it and not Rake. So maybe he's like some sort of shapeshifter, or I don't know. I have no idea what it is.
I am not sure either. I don't even. You have a much better guess than I do.
But I feel like I have a little bit of maybe more of an understanding on what the soul taken is.
Okay,
Because
let's hear it.
Crone describes them as the Tisti Andi, soul taken Tisti Andi dragon. So immediately when that, for whatever reason, I associated it with Avatar. You know, how like Tisti Andi are either basically taking control of the dragons physically, or they're like doing it remotely through some type of weird moonspawn technology.
Oh, like they're warging into the dragons or something?
Right, yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm going with the whole soul taken thing. And that maybe like dragons really don't, I mean, they do exist, however, they've just been commandeered by the Tistiande. And that's why they're not seen as frequently or at all.
I think I can get down with that.
I'm sure I'm way off, but as we read the series, I'm sure more will be explained on that, or hopefully will. I think it's definitely one of those things that adds a little bit of a mystery flavor to everything.
Hey, you were right about Riga, so I'm not going to doubt you.
Well, yeah, well, that makes one of us.
You could very well could be right about this.
I very well could be. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I didn't. It was a very, very short. It was about a page long.
Well, why don't you want to read my words here?
Sure. QB closed his eyes and I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Quick, quick,
I don't
Ben.
even know what to say.
I thought it would be funny, so I said it. Quick Ben closed his eyes and let go of the last of his warrens. As Quick Ben crashed into the woman, her arms wrapped around him. The explosion took his breath away. Debris went everywhere. Then all was still. Quick Ben sat up and looked where Mammon had been. It was a crater now, and Mammon was gone, presumably in a million bloody pieces. The woman spoke. She asked if they lived. Quick Ben said it was clever for her to close her warrens. She didn't understand. Quick Ben explained that Moranth weapons were simple. Warrens draw the explosive force, and the tyrant is dead. Hedge was next to him, half his face burned up. Quick Ben said he was an idiot, but before he could complete the sentence, Hedge said he's dead, isn't he? Just a hole in the ground now. The best way to deal with a mage. Paran climbed out of the ruins, asking where Whiskey Jack was. Hedge said in the woods. Kalam looked down the hole and said something was moving down there. Quick Ben said impossible, but there was a form of a man taking shape. He said that they are dead, or worse. Something came out of the garden. Some roots shot into the crater towards the Jaghut possessed. It closed around the body as it screamed. Quick Ben said, Azoth? Here? Darudin said they arise. Quick Ben interjected and said, when unchained power threatens life. Kalam asks if the Jaghut will escape. Quick Ben says no and tells Kalam they are done with it and to leave. Darudin thanked the squad and left. Quick Ben asked Whiskey Jack was hurt. Fiddler said that he had a Bradley broken leg. They heard Darudin shriek out in surprise. A young man clad in black had been hiding. Fiddler wondered what he had heard. Quick Ben doesn't think he heard anything that would make sense to him and asks if Fiddler and Hedge are going to go blow the popsicle stand sky high. As Fiddler and they left. Kalam looked into the hole in the earth, looking at the water pipes. He noticed one didn't leak water, and he thought of the gray faces. Fuck. He wants to know where Fiddler and Hedge went. Quick Ben says they just left through the estate. He tells him to find Paran and to go to the place he knows. He's going after the saboteurs. They've planted mines at every major intersection. Look at the legend on the map, the main gas valves. They'll all go sky high. Okay, so this is my connection with Hedge and the section before Crone when he shoots the crossbow bolt. So
it's starting to make sense to me now. I think I know where you're going.
Because Quick Ben and Darudin had closed their warrens, the only one who had a warren open was who?
Jaghut possessed.
That's right. That's right. But how Hedge knew this? Like, I don't know if they knew. Like, how would he have possibly known? Or is this just a whim? He's just like, I'm just gonna fucking blow shit up.
That I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very chaotic section, and I think it takes you a couple of times to kind of understand what it is that's happening and everything that has led up to this particular section, because I feel like this is kind of the culmination, and part of me is a little disappointed that he's potentially dead because Reyes was literally just awakened like 3 chapters ago. Yeah. But also, this
Yeah,
is
it wasn't
kind of
long.
bringing me back to when Paran disappeared and he's in this like, extra dimension fighting the Finnist. Is I think that he was able to weaken the Finnist enough to where the Azath was able to imprison it, so to speak, or cage it, right? And the Azath now has control over the Finnist, and the Azath is the one that like grabbed or used its tendril type magic to grab the Jaghut possessed and imprison it or kill it. It's kind of like how I'm making sense of everything. Whether that's right or not, I guess I'm not too sure, but I'm wondering now that we've done these summaries how much more sense it'll make when I just reread the chapter real quick,
Yeah, that's true. I don't think I've read a chapter after we've summarized it.
I've done it once, and I think it was at the very beginning. I think it was like the second chapter because everything was so confusing back then, because you just started a book and he just throws you in it.
Yeah, just tossed right in.
Yeah, but I guess my big question here is what happened to Mammon?
I agree. That's kind of my question too. Is he just
Kind of seems that way.
is he gone?
But it's
I
not.
mean, I don't know how that's survivable.
But also Talk the Younger, right? Like, where's he been? Apparently he's dead. But he kind of went out in a similar he didn't go out in a similar fashion, but the fact that there wasn't any type of conclusion to it is similar to this situation. Like no one's talking about Mamet at this moment. No one's mourning or grieving him. Granted, things just happened, but still, like, nobody is.
Yeah, the dust hasn't even settled yet, like literally.
Preoccupied with Jerusalem being blown up because they realize it's not water pipes, it's gas pipes.
Or that there's at least gas pipes present. Yeah, some of them are water, but yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. That will fuck some shit up for sure.
But yeah, Warrens draw the explosive force. I'm still curious as to like what this Azaf thing is. Like that's probably the one thing that's got me so chasing my tail here.
I mean, we're running out of pages in this book to, have a whole lot be opened up, but I, I'm sure we'll get more because like I said, we don't have many pages, and even that religious figure, I can't remember the name, that was brought up before. Like we haven't heard anything more about that.
The Panian Seer.
Oh, there you go. Yes. Like, I can't. It's probably not going to play a major role, but is he going to be brought up again? I've been thinking about that as we get towards the end of the book.
I doubt that he'll get brought up in this book, but I think that again, I mean it's the first book in a series of 10. So I can only assume that the story continues either in Dead House Gates or another book, you know?
Right?
I mean, like to think about it, like this is just the beginning, but to feel like so much has happened and transpired in this book, like you almost kind of feel like it's complete or that it's coming to a resolve, but in reality, that's not the case at all. Like you still have 9 more books to read.
Yeah, the door is just opening.
I mean, unless they're, 10 different stories with, characters making a cameo, but I don't believe that to be the case. I don't think that that's how this will work. I do think it is a continuous story.
Yeah, I'm sure we're obviously gonna get like new characters along the way,
Oh,
but
absolutely. Yeah. I'm excited to read on because yeah, we have this chapter and then we have one more chapter after that and then we've got our epilogue. So, and this next chapter is like 15 pages.
oh, that's it. I hadn't looked that far.
Yep. It's like 15 pages. And then I think the chapter after that is like 10. So, and the epilogue is maybe
A page or two.
3 pages. So, yeah, I think our epilogue episode, we could do that and then have our guests come on.
Not as a separate episode.
No, I think we should just be able to do it all at once, have the epilogue and then like all 4 of us can kind of talk about I just see it leading into us talking about the podcast and the book and sharing some ideas, some things that were terribly wrong on our parts and etc etc.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good time. We'll have a lot of fun.
That will be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And the fact to say that like you and we did our due diligence, sir. We're right there. It's like on the tip of our tongue. We're right there. 2 episodes left. Well, 3 technically episodes left of Gardens of the Moon, and we can put this book to bed and move on to the next one, which is exhilarating to think about.
Yeah, it's like the impatience is real.
And the payoff is, in my opinion, worth it. As slow as it went, like it's totally worth it.
Yeah, it's been a good time. It's been worth it, and I wouldn't change it.
Me neither. But I guess before we bid adieu, did you have any final thoughts for either this section or this chapter?
Do you think the city's going to be leveled?
No, I think that they're gonna save the day. I mean, if they did, ooh, this is dark. I'm warning you. It's kind of dark. But what
All
if they
right.
don't save the city? Then they don't have to worry about taking over. Like Dujek can just stroll in. He doesn't have to save anything. He could just have the city. It's his for the taking because there's no one there to oppose him.
But what are you going to do with a city that's destroyed and there's suddenly 300,000 less people around?
You know, make do with what you got.
You can be king of a pile of rubble.
Or rebuild it, you
True.
know? I mean, I'm assuming not every. I mean, they didn't plant mines throughout the whole city. They just planted at every major intersection. So there's
Yeah,
some.
but gas explosions usually do pretty good damage.
I guess I don't have any
I,
experience as a saboteur.
yeah, and you're right. I don't either. But like, yeah, usually a gas, like, I mean, they don't have to plant through the whole city. I mean, if the line blows, it's just going to blow back through the whole line.
Yeah, that's true. Well, then you are right. Dujek's gonna come to a city that, yeah. So no, that won't work. That won't work for our characters. They have to stop it.
And then, yeah, either that or they got to leave like yesterday to get the hell out.
Right. Yep. Because they're gonna go down with it. You know, it was really weird to say Hairlock. It was really weird to say his name.
Why is that?
Just because he hasn't been a prominent character in these episodes for a while now.
Yeah, he has not appeared in a bit.
Well, he's dead. Fucking hounds destroyed him.
Oh, yeah, true. So he's not going nowhere, is he?
No, he's done. He's a pile
That's all
of.
right. I didn't like him.
Yeah, he was an asshole. He was an asshole puppet.
He was.
But I suppose as far as this podcast goes, I think we should wrap her up.
I think we've covered about everything. I
I
don't think
think
we
so.
left. I mean, if we left anything on the table, I don't think it was much.
No, not very much. Maybe some small little details here and there. But what those are, I don't know.
Well, we'll soldier on to the next chapter here.
Hell yeah. Well, cool, dude.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening,
Yes, you do the same, sir.
and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, y'all.
Until next time.